Anyone who's in the hobby today is familiar with the Pokémon Center stamp, but it actually started back in 2002. Rapidash and Ho-Oh, Black Star promos number 51 and 53, got Pokémon Center stamped variants. Now obviously they didn't come with an ETB order online, you had to actually visit the Pokémon Center in New York to get one. However, this was it for a very, very long hiatus, until the squeal of Lechonk broke the silence. Starting with the Scarlet and Violet series, Pokémon Center stamps returned, being included with the Pokémon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes. It's now standard to see a Pokémon Center stamped promo with every new set released. However, when extras pop up like Lechonk, Squirtle, and Tyranitar, they're still exclusive to the Pokémon Center website. It's not uncommon for the Pokémon Company to collaborate with different retailers. Toys R Us has distributed a total of 15 different promos with their logo stamped on them. Some of these come from the Generation set, the Evolution set, or various Sun and Moon sets. But there are a lot more GameStop promos. Most people don't know this, but GameStop's original Pokémon card promos did not even have the stamp on them. They were often non-holo exclusives. However, starting with Flapple, and with the release of Battle Styles, the first stamped GameStop promo was born. This is a semi-regular tradition now, and GameStop stamps are easy to find. But in Australia or Canada, we don't have GameStop. EB Games, which is related to GameStop, also offers stamped promos. They look similar to GameStop's, so they're easy to miss. But if you're master setting something like Pokémon 151, for example, you'll have to collect both the EB Games and GameStop Charmanders. But check this out, there's actually a Canadian version of the EB Games stamp. Look right here. There's a little maple leaf outline. Now this is very loosely documented online, and they don't exist for every promo, but is a very cool and rare variant if you can find one. The Build-A-Bear Workshop promos are pretty cool. As you know, Pokemon plushies are a fan favorite, so it's no surprise that Build-A-Bear, a franchise that lets you design your own plushies, partnered with Pokemon. They offered a bunch of different Pokemon plushies bundled with cards. 14 cards were released in total, and include cards from the XY and Black and White era. Best Buy has recently dipped their toes into these special Pokemon stamps too, but they don't get their own stamp. Instead, Best Buy's exclusive cards are stamped with a set logo, which we will dive into next. The first set to introduce set stamps was EX Team Rocket Returns, way back in 2004. This was actually their reverse holo design, which sometimes included gold text at the top if it was a rare or better. But you can find set stamps on commons and uncommons as well. This continued throughout the EX series. After that, the Pokemon Company started using set stamps as a catch-all promo. Need a blister pack promo? Slap a set stamp on it. Pre-release promo? Slap a set stamp on it. Jumbo? Set stamp. Burger King cards? Set stamp. Prismatic Surprise Box? Set stamp. But pre-release is the most common place to find them today. Each pre-release event introduces 4 stamped cards from that set. If you like these, they're usually pretty chill to find and cheap to buy. Although there are some exceptions, but special sets like Prismatic Evolutions or Pokémon 151 don't get pre-release events. If they do have a stamped promo, it'll be distributed another way, like this Bulbasaur from Best Buy. Here's a fun fact about me. I herniated 2 discs in my lower back a few years ago, so sitting in a bad chair can really bother me. And this is what I've been using for the past 2 years. No, not great. That's why I happily accepted FlexiSpot as a channel sponsor when they reached out. Yes, I needed a new chair, but big channels like Linus Tech Tips have also endorsed them. It has a real headrest that you can actually rest your head on. I know that sounds dumb, but listen, I've never had an adjustable headrest that actually relieves stress when you use it. They want me to talk about the adjustable height, depth, and memory foam cushion, and these armrests that have a bunch of different features, but I want to talk about the lumbar support. This right here is what makes a good chair. I'm not only a workaholic, but also a casual hardcore gamer. To me, lumbar support is everything, and this chair brings it. The way it holds your lumbar, even as you recline, is so satisfying. They added these little steps for people who like to rest their feet on the legs, which is kind of an insane detail, and I really appreciate it. They said I'm allowed to share my genuine experience and even suggest any improvements, but I don't think I have any. I know I got it for free, but I think you can tell I honestly love it. I only promote products I like, so if you're looking for a new chair, you can use my code SleeveNoCard for $30 off so you can get the best price. We gotta get back to the stamps, but I'll remind you at the end. It's not uncommon to find a stamp on your Pokemon cards that come from a restaurant or other establishment associated with food. But since we're only looking at English cards this episode, we're pretty much stuck with the big man, McDonald's. The McDonald's cards first went international in 2011 and quickly established a format still used today. 12 cards, a confetti holo pattern, and sold with Happy Meals. However, no stamp. The 2012 set got a little McDonald's stamp, and so did the 2014 set, but they completely dropped it after that until 2021 when they got a new type of stamp. I recently did a whole video on Celebration, so I'll try not to gush over it too much, but yeah, I love this set, and personally, I include the 2021 McDonald's set as part of my Celebrations Grandmaster set. Anything with the 25th anniversary Pikachu stamp is in this binder. So that includes the main set, the subset, the promos, and the McDonald's cards, and this random General Mills cereal promo. This was all part of Pokemon's 25th birthday, but we also saw custom stamps for other anniversaries. A few years prior, in 2016, we celebrated Pokemon's 20th anniversary, with Generations and Evolutions, two sets that leaned heavily into Gen 1 Pokemon, and even reprinted many from 1999 but with updated stats. But these sets didn't feature a stamp on every card. Actually, the stamp was reserved for specific promos that year. Yes, this is the same set that received the Toys R Us stamps, but they were also released for the 20th anniversary in the UK exclusively. And of course, we have the 10th anniversary stamp. I think this stamp looks pretty cool, and it can be found on this Pikachu as well as this Space Center trainer card. I think I like the 10th anniversary stamp the best, but the Pikachu style stamp is probably here to stay, and we even see it used elsewhere. In 2022, the Pokemon Company introduced a new Halloween product called the Trick or Trade Booster Bundle. These came with a bunch of skinny booster packs with 3 cards each. There isn't anything exciting to pull since they're all reprints of standard cards from previous sets, which is by design. These are meant to be handed out to kids on Halloween. But each card in these sets do have a cute little Pikachu stamp themed like a pumpkin. I was thrilled when these first came out, and I thought they would carry on the Pikachu stamps into a winter theme, but instead they kept a snowflake. So every holiday season, the Pokemon Company always does 2 things. They drop some hot product that the longtime collectors, players, and scalpers want, and they also release a new holiday calendar that, again, is primarily designed for kids. That being said, many of the promos that come with the holiday calendars are pretty good, and they get a snowflake stamp on them. Now, these are reprints with the stamp added, so holiday calendars aren't usually hard to find, and they're usually pretty affordable. But originally, this product was called the Pokemon Countdown Calendar and featured promos with gold snowflakes. Okay, it's time to dive into the thickest part of this video. This category is any stamp that can be obtained through playing the official trading card game at an official event. There are quite a few to go over. This subject is deep and could be its own video, so I'm going to try and keep it simple. Why don't we start back at the Wizards of the Coast era, where we first saw pre-release stamps. These weren't set stamps yet. They actually say pre-release, and Wizards also created a very small series of winner stamped cards as part of the Best of Game promos. These came from Battlezone Knights, a branch of the Pokemon League. Now, the Pokemon League was eventually turned into Pokemon Organized Play, often called POP, in 2004. At this point, they had carried forward the pre-release stamps and winner stamps even onto some jumbo cards. The odd winner card is still around today, and yeah, I don't think I have to explain this one, but you had to win to get one. And there was this Trico, Torchic, and Mudkip trio where the stamp was reduced to just the Pop Pokeball style logo, which were distributed in Europe first. Around this time, city championships were introduced, and if you participated, you got a cute little Charmander with a city tournament stamp on it. Because this was so successful, a state championship was then held in the US, which appropriately distributed a state championship stamped Charmeleon. After this, they started gym challenge events, which also got a unique stamp, like on this Beldum, and then Stadium Challenge, which again got a stamp, and then National Championships, which yes, got a stamp, And we're still in 2004, by the way. Of course, all of this was leading up to the 2004 World Championship. If you were the very best, then you would win a trophy card with a nice little World Championship stamp on it. But we're not done yet. The World Championship Tropical Wind promo has a stamp on it, but this card was also stamped for a second time and handed out to the staff. So this lays the groundwork for this category. Basically, a player would have to start at a local Pokemon organized play event, then battle and win their way up to the World Championship to collect all of these stamps. And also have lots of money and parents who are willing to dedicate their lives to flying their 10-year-old around the world to battle Pokemon. The following year, in 2005, these stamps got a bit of a refresh as the TCG moved out of its E-Series era, and staff stamps were introduced and given to professors. A professor is basically a judge for the official TCG events. These are the guys who make the calls during a game when a specific move or maneuver starts to conflict, or when the rules get a little fuzzy. This is a volunteer service, but they are given special stamped promos as a thank you. These started out as energy cards and trainer cards featuring professors, but have expanded to all kinds of cards today. Next, a regional championship was created, and in 2007, a state, province, territory stamp was created to include countries that didn't have states, but only briefly. And then a new event called Battle Road was started. This acted as an accessible way for players to pick up their ratings and qualify for nationals and worlds instead of traveling to regionals or other events far away. Of course, there are many different Battle Road stamped promos to find from different years. But the 2007 World Championship introduced a new kind of promo variant. Remember these Worlds promos? They were now being awarded with finalist placings on them. Top 32, top 16, quarterfinalist, semi-finalist, and of course finalist. This is carried on right up to the modern day with a few new placements or additions added. And if you've snagged a recent promo from GameStop, then you've seen the new modern World Championship logo too. Pokemon Organized Play actually had a couple of different stamps, but they eventually switched over to this Pokemon League stamp. Then, years later, the whole thing was shortened to just Play. And this stamp was introduced, which is what we still see today. A Play prize pack is a booster pack that's awarded at Play events. These have reprints with stamps on them. This can frustrate collectors who chase after Grand Master sets, as these packs sometimes produce new variants from year-old sets. Oh, and one more, the Ace Trainer stamp. Now, this is a new stamped promo that was revealed as I was writing this video. To obtain one, you would have to participate in the Ace Trainer Rewards program and earn 200 points by the end of the season, but they aren't actually out yet. Alright, let's take a breather. If that was overwhelming, don't feel bad. It is overwhelming, even for me. They didn't really shy away from rebranding and switching logos whenever they felt like it. So it can be hard to wrap your head around it if you weren't actively playing the game for the last few decades. Thankfully, this next one is a little more structured. I'm only covering English cards in this video, but that doesn't stop us from diving into the Pokemon Asia Championship Series, or PAX. So this is basically everything we just talked about, but the Southeast Asia version. The reason it's in this video is because many of the cards they stamp are in English. The easiest to identify is the season stamp. It's very simple and straightforward with the date of the season on it, 2 years. The next two are a little more nuanced. The Asia Championship Series starts at the Town League, then the Regional League, then the Championships, then the World Championships. There are no stamps for the Town League, but we get regional stamps and championship stamps. But if you're searching for these on eBay, for example, they're often referred to as event stamps. If you look closely, the region name is included in the stamp itself, so you might be collecting Philippine stamps as well as Indonesia stamps, and so on. And that's all the stamps for the Asia Championship Series. Is what I would say if they didn't fully revise the system in 2024. As frustrating as this is, I kind of really like the new structure and rebrand, which is represented by Pokeballs. It starts with the Great Ball League, then the Ultra Ball League, then this splits into either Master Ball or Premier Ball, and after that is the World Championship. Great, Ultra, Master, and Premier Leagues all have stamps. The Premier League stamps can also have an additional judge stamp underneath. They also launched a new stamp for promo cards, which I quite like, and then we have to talk about the gym promos. These are awarded as a participation prize, so they're basically like the Play prize pack promos for Southeast Asia. Alright, let's get back into the less serious stuff. February 27th is celebrated as Pokémon Day, as this was when the Game Boy games were first released in 1996, almost 30 years ago. Feel old yet? The first time we got a Pokémon Day stamp was in 2005, but it was exclusive to the German Rayquaza and Deoxys and the Italian Ho-Oh. But this video is on English cards, so I want you to forget I said that. Then in 2008, Italy got a Chimchar, Piplup, and Turtwig with Pokémon Day stamps, and Germany and the Netherlands got a Pikachu, but an English Pikachu. And then in 09 and 10, the Netherlands got a stamped English Pikachu again. After a hiatus, we saw a new and refreshed Pokémon Day stamp return in 2024 on Prerelease, then one on Eevee and Sylveon in 2025. Much like Celebrations, Pokémon GO was a set with a stamp on every single card related to it. Of course, Pokémon GO is a mobile game, so this was a special crossover set. We had seen something similar in the past, but this was a full-on expansion set, so it felt kind of weird. This set was heavily criticized when it was released, largely due to the stamp. I might be wrong because I'm not a kid anymore, but I feel like the Pokemon anime was way bigger back in the day. There's a reason why Ancient Mew and Entei are such special cards, and that's because they were part of an experience. You got these cards when you went to see one of the new Pokemon movies, and of course that memory is supplemented with popcorn and candy and family and friends, and seeing Donphan. If you know, you know. Despite these cards being iconic, they don't have stamps, but these ones do. These 4 cards belong in the 90s Kids Starter Kit, and we all had some, and to this day, this stamp feels like a shot of nostalgia straight to my veins. But some of them are inverted. Okay, so, and by the way, I'm sorry for the tangent, but this is just so cool. These errors are crazy rare. It's estimated that only a few sheets were ever printed with the inverted stamps. It's a super cool piece to own if you're lucky enough to find one. After these, we didn't get any special stamps until the 4th Pokemon movie, Pokemon Forever. Both Celebi and Suicune got this stamp. Then after that, there was Destiny Deoxys, and then after that, nothing. For like 20 years, they kicked this idea to the curb, at least for English cards. But then in 2025, we got the Horizons stamp. Yay! Pokémon Rumble for the Wii came out back in 2009 and shocked the world with earth-shattering graphics. With a Zapdos like this, a TCG crossover was inevitable. This is a 16-card set, each featuring a Pokémon Rumble stamp in the lower right corner of the illustration window. Interestingly, these cards also cut out the Pokédex info, stats, and credit the game as the illustrator. The Japanese version of this set features an additional 3 cards, Pachirisu, Croagunk, and Eevee. They were awarded as a part of a secret lottery. You had to beat the game and enter a code into a website, but this video is focusing on English cards, so forget I said that. Some of the most sought-after cards in the hobby came from Koro magazine in Japan, but we actually got a few interesting magazine promos over here too, and some of them have stamps. Remember those Pokémon Center promos we covered at the beginning of the video? The non-stamped versions were exclusive to the November 2002 issue of Nintendo Power. In Canada, magazine subscriptions were super expensive, so I had to visit my local library to read Nintendo Power, and yeah, the promos were never there. But there are 7 Wizards of the Coast cards with a gold W stamp on them. Dark Arbok was exclusive to the Hong Kong Pokemon League, and Dark Charmeleon was packed in with craft products in Australia, but the rest were found in different issues of Top Deck magazine from 1999 to 2001, except for the very first W-stamped card, Pikachu, which was found in the Duelist magazine. Scry magazine, which reported on trading cards, had a few stamped promos pop up, notably this Bagon from January 2004, which was also available in the Inquest Gamer magazine the same month and year. 2 stamps on 1 card? Are they crazy? Hopefully he doesn't get another. Craze Club magazine got its crazy little hands on a Skitty and stamped it with their logo. They did pop culture, anime, toys, games, and more. I'm hyped to share this part of the video with you guys because it's really fun. These are stamped promos that originated from special events in the US. Most of these take place in the 2000s, and these cards are rare. This base set Pikachu can be found with an E3 stamp on it. E3 was a gaming convention where Pokemon TCG actually had quite a few beginnings. The first ever cards to hit the North American market were distributed here, but also the E3 stamped Pikachu. Pikachu collectors already know that there are 2 versions of this collectible, the Yellow Cheeks and the Red Cheeks. We also have a PokeTour 1999 stamped Pikachu. This was an event held in Sydney, Australia, where you could bring your red or blue Game Boy cartridge and get Mew. Attendees also received a swag bag, and in it was this PokeTour 1999 stamped Pikachu. Also in Australia, the 2001 Pikachu World Collection is a 9-card portfolio featuring Pikachu reprints, but with a small gold Pikachu tail stamp added to them. But only one of these cards is in English, so I'm gonna have to ask you to forget about the others. Gen Con 2004, another gaming convention, stamped a— oh my god, what? No way, Bagon? They stamped another Bagon? Holy crap, that's 3 stamps for this little guy. Oh, and in 2006 they stamped a Trico. Okay, that's cool. In 2007, 2008, and 2009, the Pokemon Company International handed out promos at this annual distributor meeting. First a Piplup, then a Turtwig, then a Munchlax. They haven't done this since, and only 6 of each were made. Comic-Con, you probably know what Comic-Con is, has distributed a few stamped promos, including Ditto, Pikachu, Aipom, and Shellos. In 2005, the Wizard World event held in Philadelphia got a stamped Mudkip, and the Chicago event had a stamped Torchic. Again, in 2005, wow, what a busy year, the Pokemon Rocks America Tour offered attendees not only a downloadable Deoxys for their copy of Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire, but also this Lugia card. Games Expos, held in 2007, had 2 more Dittos with stamps. One says Games Expo 2007, while the other is an Origins stamp from the Origins Game Fair. Finally, we've reached the Miscellaneous category. These are stamped promos that are one-off collaborations or just fun promotions. This is the Legendary Pokemon stamp. Back in 2018, Pokemon ran this year of Legendary Pokemon campaign, kind of like how 2025 was the year of the Eevee. Basically, they just stuffed a few extra Legendary Pokemon into their products. This Jumbo card came in the Legends of Johto GX box, and more Jumbos with the stamp came out that year too. Some standard size cards, Suicune, Groudon, and Zygarde, were reprinted as Cosmos Foil exclusives with the stamp and given out at retail stores such as GameStop. The Pokemon trading card game for the original Game Boy came with a card packed in, and it's this Meowth. It has what is probably the smallest stamp so far, this little GB in the lower right. This card was originally designed specifically for the game, but then was made into a physical card to be a promo. In 2005, there was a Pichu with a Nintendo World stamp on it. You probably guessed this already, but it was given out at the Nintendo World Store in 2005 to commemorate its opening. Something Pokemon has been doing since the early days is art competitions. Heck, the most expensive card ever originated from an illustration contest. But most of these have been exclusive to Japan. Pokemon Art Academy is an old Nintendo DS game from 2014 where you could use the DS's main feature, the stylus and touchscreen, to create works of art. In 2015, a contest was held which required players to submit art from the game. These 6 cards are the North American winners, and these 6 are the European winners. So yes, each of these was created using a Nintendo DS, which is kind of insane. I mean, I spent a lot of time in PictoChat, but this is unreal. The stamp on these is the Pokemon Art Academy game logo, and it's quite small and subtle, which feels very respectful as they don't cover up the artist's work. There were no international illustration contests held again until 2022, when the Pokemon TCG illustration contest got a refresh and was now open to everyone. These are the 3 finalists, and each got a new stamp in the lower right of the card, not the illustration window, so now none of the artwork was covered up. This also allowed for the stamp to be sized up. This contest returned in 2024 and produced one of, if not my favorite Pikachu art of all time, as well as a Feraligatr and Toxtricity. Between 2019 and 2020, Pokemon partnered with the English Football Association and produced 5 On the Ball cards: Pikachu, Eevee, Grookey, Squirbunny, and Sobble. These are Europe exclusives, obviously. You might recognize these, especially if you're a 151 collector. In 2023, Pokemon ran a small PokePost pop-up campaign, where they set up these booths in the UK, France, and Germany. You could visit and sign up to send a gift back, including the 2 stamped promos, to a friend. Eventually, these 2 cards became available as free gifts with a purchase at the Pokémon Center, which I did not get. In 2020, we got a handful of cards with a thank you stamp on them. First was Hydreigon from Darkness Ablaze, then a set of 5 more from Vivid Voltage, which happened to be reverse holos and also have play stamps. These were distributed to card shops as well as a thank you, and I'm not sure if they were intended to be handed out to the shop owners, managers, judges, or players. I'm not even sure if it was ever specified. These 3 starters got very special beginner's session stamps on them. This was a part of a Learn to Play the Pokémon TCG tutorial program in the Philippines and Singapore, so these again are Southeast Asia exclusives. Iono is a staple card in the actual trading card game, and many decks run at least 1 copy. Since it's such an important card, it has received a handful of stamps, including its very own. This stamp is the Iono Zone logo, which can be found in the Pokémon Scarlet and Violet games. In 2024, Pokémon sponsored an NBA game in Seattle and issued a Pikachu promo with a brand new Rain City stamp on it. The small but horrifying Detective Pikachu set did not have stamps, however, some related promos did. And if you were waiting for it, here it is, the Jumbo Shadow Lugia, with the one and only Pokémon XD stamp. I covered this in detail in my video where I collected only Jumbo cards for 30 days and wow, it was a doozy. And before you go, FlexiSpot offers a 30-day return policy for a risk-free trial and a 10-year warranty. I'll link everything below if you want to check out the chair or one of their other models.